Hello everyone, my name is David On and I'm from HealthPath Horizons. Today, I'm interviewing Dr. Jingjing Hu, a hematologist-oncologist who currently practices in New Hampshire. I'm interviewing her to ask about her experiences in medicine, her journey to being a physician, and some of the suggestions she has for those of you who are similarly interested in pursuing a career in health. Hope you enjoy.
Could you share just a little bit about your background with us? Because we really believe that every journey into the medical field should be very unique and is also very valuable.
So my name is Jingjing Hu. I'm one of the practicing oncologists working at the Mass General. I'm a foreign graduate, so that means I got my medical degree from a different country other than from US. I have learned quite some experience from my families because some of them are physicians when I was in a childhood. So I know I want to go to be, a physician, but I don't know what kind of physician. And I know that's going to be, taking time to figure out. During the high school entrance exam, I think, or apply for medical school. And luckily, I was accepted in one of the 8 years, like a pre-medical plus the medical school, like a direct program for a total of 8 years. And then after the preclinical training, we started the research and then the background of the oncology as my thesis. So that's kind of decided when I was going to apply for the subspecialties, and that's what I always want to be. So that's kind of straightforward for my journey. It's not a lot of interesting story about it.
So then, through that whole process of you becoming a doctor in China and coming to the U.S. and practicing as a physician and getting to where you are now, what was the hardest part about, that entire journey, right? Getting to where you are now?
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned that it is difficult as a foreign graduate to get used to the U.S. training system, and also you should have those hands-on experience. So we missed that part, and especially when we were a fresh new graduate from medical school. So I did have to go through some externship or observership and sub-AI, and then rotate like extra years before I was applying for the resident training. So that probably was the difficult part compared to the others.
Was there anything that you regretted, on that entire journey?
No, I set up my goal is which year we should finish the training. And then I don't think, I'm not a regret person, when I did it. Regretting is not going to help me. So
right.
I don't think so.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
It is actually multiple layers, besides you feel fulfilled after you help the patient and help the society, and then also it's kind of helping yourself too. It's an inner peace when you have felt what you are capable to do. It's important, and it's pretty rewarding. It's not like necessarily just treating the patient, also kind of providing a lot of medical information to your own society, family, friends, getting them screened and answering a lot of medical questions because it's harder for them to understand, but it's very easy for me to explain. A lot of those kind of you feel you increase people's knowledges of layman's law knowledge for the medical field. It's kind of, I feel, more than you treating your patient as rewarding. Okay. Yes.
So there's something that's, almost as interesting as just, treating the patient themselves, right? Of course, is maybe teaching,
yes,
not only the patient, but teaching the general public.
Yes. Yes. And then you could have, the screening, and then you kind of broadcasting, giving proactively message people can do to preventing certain disease instead of when they get sick and then going to the hospital, especially when you go to rural area of China or other countries, and then you're in a small circle of people who been affected. You cannot affect a whole big circle. It's just starting to do surrounding you. You can help them, push them to do the mammogram screening, for example, doing a colonoscopy screening, where they don't have the sense to do in a lot of the nations. So I think that's also important. So that kind of dragging you towards not only just treating your own patient in the hospital, but is making the circle bigger and then more effects to the people. like even healthy people, preventive medicine, that's a field.
I see. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool, actually. I don't think I've ever heard like a doctor really be very vocal about, kind of the full circle, right? Because,
And you don't want to, it's like it's a different way. I always think a good medicine, not only for treating sick people, also preventing people getting sick, earlier detection, earlier prevention. And then I'm sure there's a lot of people already done this, but they haven't realized how much they affect the people around them. They may already doing this. Like for example, people who you go to in China, they have no sense of like a screening colonoscopy, and then they listen to you. They did it, and then hey, they have earlier colon cancer. They don't have to die from that. And I don't even remember how many dozens of people I told them did it. They actually survived early colon cancer very happily still.
Mm. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, so it's also very rewarding to, motivate someone to go get screened and ends up, you might have saved their life just by doing that. That's cool. Yeah. You just talked about, like another big part of being a doctor is being very involved with like the community and being involved with like those around you and those and those you talk to. Not only like sick and but also healthy patients. Um, and I want to ask a question, which is, because those doctors, at least for you, you're very involved in kind of the circles you're a part of. Do you think that there is a need for like greater diversity or representation, right? Do we need more different circles to be represented in medicine? Right, not only, the US, like, as not only like, different ethnicities in the US, but also like maybe we do need some more international foreign graduates.
This is the same as again to the ethnic international foreign graduates. Of course, you can name a field like African American. They're always underrepresented with all the clinical trial, how they access the medical field, how they understanding, treatments. So I think so that it's not only here and international graduates, but definitely different ethnic is still making more sense if you understand it, because internationally they are more carry their own ethnic background, so they might speaking more closely or feels more of deep feeling of that group of immigrants. So I think so, but coming back to like, is that just ethnic or just international from the different country? It's hard to say.
I see. Yeah. What sort of problems do you think arise when when you do have that unmet need, right? Like, what kind of problems does it cause?
Well, break down the different factors, and these includes less awareness, access to the insurance. You already know a lot of U.S. president trying to get Obamacare, one of Medicare, Medicaid, and then people are just confused about how they can have a few immigrants they don't know they have allowance to do Medicare. They have to be told, and then there's a lot of groups are able to help them apply. And then this is actually one thing I think you can do in your future, is like helping those people to apply for, get access to the medical insurance or like Medicaid. Still believe it. A lot of people thought they have to pay out of pocket everything by themselves, so they're afraid to go to the doctors.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I haven't thought about really is that, maybe patients, a lot of, well, not patients yet, but basically a lot of people might, especially if they're poor or they're, maybe immigrants, uh, they don't, they're not very knowledgeable about all the insurance options available to them. And they feel like they have this sense that they wouldn't be able to afford medical care. And then I just want to ask you a couple of questions about like your specific life, right, to kind of give people an idea of your lifestyle, your thoughts, your background. So, you mentioned that in the beginning you kind of already knew you wanted to be a doctor, right, because your parents were doctors and, you were able to see a lot of, medical treatment and stuff like through that, but you didn't know what specialty you wanted to do. So what made you want to choose to be, hemoncologist?
I know. Well, first I just corrected. My parents are not doctors. I do have
relatives. Okay.
Relatives. And then, so I always like something like fun and challenging. I'm dragged to solve problems. So if anything challenging, especially the unknowns, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of new medicine or new technology in the field. Always is very intriguing to me. So I think that make me officially driven to understanding these mechanisms. And then as the 21st century, we have a lot of genomes, kind of a new understanding of the humans. So that actually was kind of my interest. And I do know I don't want to be a surgeon, so I want to be medicine. And then the part of it's because I know my brain is like a very interested into solving those problems. So I think that's one major point. And secondly, when I get into the graduation thesis, when I learn more of those cancer-related projects, then that is kind of further confirm my interest. And I did do a couple of rotations when I was in the medical resident, and then I actually like it. Like, hematology-oncology rotation, I do extra when I was testing, am I going to survive things? Am I going to feel like I will be a right personality in this field? I do thinking I get feedbacks from the mentors from that time, resident, like program directors, feedbacks from the oncologists, and they do feel I could be a really good oncologist. So I think that's the finalize my decision.
I see. So you got some like positive feedback from, I guess in that sense, like those like kind of short-term temporary mentors. How would you advise, aspiring students, right? Students that really want to go into medicine, but aren't really sure what exactly job they want to choose, right? And, not just like choose to be a physician, but also maybe they want to be, a nurse or PA, MP, right? Something like that.
Always do some, shadowing or put one feet down some of the environment, and not necessarily in hospitals, like including other nursing homes, places where my helping people, like even like there's some health centers, like the community centers, like the elderly or sick people, like to see what you might like, to see how's your personality match. Those are always a good thing. And no matter where, in which country, no matter if it's a big hospital or small hospital, even the community center, I think that these are my suggestions. And then you can sit down like, hey, this is a very exciting experience. I want to do more. Or this is, no, I think I'm not that kind of person. I would rather do different. It's good to always test the water when you have a time, summer break or spring break, and I watch a lot of documentaries too. TV show, documentary if you're interested in that kind of thing.
TV show documentaries.
Yeah, documentary books, like medical history books, documentary. Anything like that, it might inspire you to learn more. It might just find your fit.
Just like any sort of exposure or anything you can learn. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And then, of course, there's my understanding of the medical system and the different specialties and jobs that assist, the doctors. But could you maybe explain in your own words, just generally, what different specialties exist, and what are some of the other jobs that play a major part in supporting physicians in healthcare?
Right, and now it's like all intermixing from industry, hospitals. So I feel the supporting field from medicine is actually bigger than the medicine itself, right? Other industries, device, and then even like a computer software to writing the medical notes and images, kind of storage, data storage. All these are related. So I think a major thing is like hospital physicians, nurse, physician assistant. These are very clinic hands-on, like a patient-to-patient relationship. I want to say like there's non-patient directly contact, non-patient contacts kind of job. They are more important a lot of times too. So it's hard to say like everything here. If you asking me like if I could do like other job, which if I don't go to be a doctor, like a medical related job, I will be interested as definitely research is one of it. Trial, like a clinical trial, those research coordinators. There's also another kind of, but that's just a small thing. It's related to my specialty. The other one, I couldn't name a lot because it's so random. So, but all the pharmaceutical company, the drug development, drug testing, and all these are related. And some of them are very patient to patient too, like clinical trials coordinator. They also are patient. They don't treat it, but they follow patient. Pharmaceutical company, they have multiple people who actually hired, including the nurse practitioners, nurses, physicians. They do in the background follow patients, getting back, and then they analyze those data. So these are very medicine still. So just name a few. There are more and more.
And I guess just for you specifically, what is your like daily lifestyle like, right? So how much free time do you get, and like what do you
So
enjoy?
I'm part-time. I cannot speak of full-time jobs for you. My job is like every week I do have certain half days for clinic duties. And then my typical life is if I do have that day or morning as my clinical duties, I will start about 8 o'clock, seeing a patient, giving them diagnosis, make a treatment plan, giving them chemotherapy, which is orders I will put in. Sometimes I will review all their tests, sending them. Yeah, those are actually the major life of the oncologist, giving them chemotherapy. And anything else is like surrounding diagnosis, reviews, and treatments and follow-ups.
What was the motivation behind you working part-time in the clinic?
Well, that's a good question. Personally, I have to set up some time for my, family. And also I do involving the Mass General Global Advisory, so I have some international cooperation. So these are other non-clinical days for me.
So I actually was going to ask a couple questions, in regards to that, right? So amount of time you get to do things that aren't clinical, how does that differ between different medical specialties?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I can speak for a whole day for that. The kind of specialty as you have to be in hospital doing surgery, and that's very hard to get away from a hospital. My job is more like clinic based. The hospital is very like maybe 5%. I need to give it around the patient when I take consultations in the hospital. So these hospital doctor, including the hospital medicine doctor, including the residents, like teaching sis. We also have the surgeons and OB gynecologists. They are in the hospital duty. The part-time is probably harder for them, but I don't need to. So I feel like this is what I want, my lifestyle, and I have to give myself like some family times as well. It's what I want. You can definitely speak a lot for the other, especially like for example, anesthesiologist. Their job is set up time. The hospital need them from like 5 to 5. So these time they cannot leave the OR. Okay, so it's less flexible. Mine is a little flexible compared to them, but also another way that anesthesiologists, they finish their duty, then they don't have a lot of paperwork behind them when they go home. But I have some notes, I have some phone calls. So the days even I'm not working, sometimes you were expecting me still related calling the patient, explain and listening to them. So this is a little different. So my patient-to-patient relationship is very different from the anesthesiologist, where they don't have a long-term relationship with the patient. So, but it is a long story. I cannot only give you a little small sample.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Very different each step. Yeah, you don't have to know that exactly now as an undergraduate, but eventually, when you get into the medical world, in the medical school, you probably will see that happen. And adjust yourself.
Appreciate that, yeah. So you mentioned already a couple different things that go into your decision of how you work as a doctor and maybe what kind of doctor you work at, right? So what are the different factors that go into choosing to pursue a specific job in healthcare, and like how do you balance, like some of the ones I know are, research, of course, the amount of practice you want to do, clinical practice, also huge family life, right? How do you balance that?
It is a very tough question, especially for female physicians. You probably have heard a lot is high burnout rate, and there's very loss of the physicians from the COVID because people are not able to balance their life. And that's something I learned from my experiences. You have to say your boundaries. So what is more important. Like I was doing the clinical and research, which involved in the clinical research, clinical trial investigation. So I was in the PI, sub PI, principal investigator. But it takes some of your times. A lot of time is your personal time and assign papers, go through the meetings after meetings, and to the point I give up the clinical research investigator job is because I don't think that's the most important thing in my life. And the plus, I think it makes me more focused on the patient care. And that's what I learned from a few years ago. However, but everybody is different. Talk to your peers, talk to your mentors, support groups. We also need a support group as a physician because when you're getting your middle life of the family and then the work and also the others, I feel like it's an ongoing process. You learn from it by each year, each day. But always there's find a good group of support group. Your friend is very important.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good point.
Always accept that accept that your body, your person's limitation. No, you cannot handle everything right. That's okay to say, yeah. I just cannot do well certain things. I'm going to focus and I'm going to adjust to go.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the first times I've ever heard someone stress the importance of having support network as a doctor, right? A lot of times it's like doctors are telling patients, oh, you need to have some support network, but it's also important that they're in. Yeah.
Human.
I think just overall, as healthcare, no matter what job you have, right, it's going to be tough. So what sort of lifestyle would be compatible with a career in healthcare? And, what sort of lifestyle maybe isn't as compatible? Maybe those who really want to do research or those who, really want to be involved in family life, right? Is that compatible with a career in healthcare or maybe is it not?
Of course it's compatible. It's like, to the what degree of a compatibility is probably you need to figure out, are you feeling using nanny to take care of your kids what are you okay versus you want to be driving your kids do you want to miss all those sports where your thinking is more important? So it's like the small things plus the big, certain things you can give up, certain things you want to keep. And then, if you're talking to a male physician, maybe they don't have a lot of kind of, but I do believe here male physicians, of course. But if you're looking at the data of surveys, the female physician does have higher kind of times part-time, and they have less paid just because they are not able to climb the ladders, doing more of their administration or a lot of next level of the careers. But that's probably natural. So it's an ongoing process. I don't think I would say like I'm better than other people, but I would rather, since I was trying to mention is like I do see my colleagues burn out, they quit their job of medicine totally. They actually were not able to do the life they would like in the beginning, and they struggle in and change their subspecialty to a totally different medical field. So they have seen multiple people who does that. In a way, I think they are still happy now, but I feel like we probably need to thinking more as a group of the physician in Mass General and then Mass General and then Brigham. We have a support group of female physicians too, trying to coordinate it with these needs. It's okay. It's not shame to ask for help and when this happens. And then at the first few years, you probably can do everything. But then after 10 years, 20 years, things comes up and always open for new challenges.
Right. Of course. Yeah. Last question is, what is something about your life or your lifestyle that most people would be surprised about, or maybe they don't know?
Like a personal life that they don't know how I handle these things. Okay, is this just a more like no? I thinking I'm also like as I'm an oncologist, I'm also a patient of a family of the cancer patients family too. So it's not like we are all correct everything. When we are on other sides of the life, we are still anxious, just like every patient needs.
Can you explain more about that? You're also the family of your patients, or?
No, I'm also I'm an oncologist, but at the same time, I'm also a family member of the cancer patient. So I'm on the other end of the
I see.
life, So that is also kind of important. So we understand better how the patient's needs, how the patient's feeling is, to be helpful for us as us when we do our doctors, physicians' job as oncologists. That's very helpful to put our shoes in that end of the, side of the.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, that's all the questions I have for you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this podcast episode, and we hope to see you in the next one.